Hello there. I wanted to talk about a comment I received in my inbox. It said, "Oh, France." Well, it didn't say "oh," but France. It's amazing how we can interpret text. Anyway, what it said was, France has cancelled New Year's Eve celebration based on an ideology. So I'm like, that sounds a bit suspect. Let me see what I can find out about it. So let me share with you what my research has come up with and what I've carefully constructed so it fits within my 10 minutes. Okay? Because I tend to go off track. So, let me see. I want to slow down this story right now because what's been circulating online about France cancelling New Year's Eve because of an ideology deserves more than a headline reaction. It deserves context, it deserves people, and it deserves honesty. Because if you're sitting at home scrolling, seeing posts that say France has cancelled New Year's because it doesn't believe in it anymore, or France has bowed to an ideology, it's understandable that it lands heavy. New Year isn't just a date in the calendar, it's a memory, it's a hope, it's grief carried over and hope stitched into midnight. It's clinking glasses for the people who didn't make it, and it's promises whispered for the year ahead. So when it sounds like a country has simply decided to erase that moment, people feel something deeper than politics. They feel loss. But here's what's actually happening. France has not cancelled New Year's Eve celebrations. People will still gather. Families will still cook too much food. Couples will still argue about which party to go to. Children will still fight sleep until midnight. Fireworks will still light the sky. Champagne will still be poured. Music will still play. Life very much is still happening. What has changed, and this is where the confusion begins, is the shape of one very specific public celebration: the massive live open-air concert and stage show on the Champs-Élysées in Paris. That part has been scaled back. No huge live show. No tightly packed crowds pressed shoulder to shoulder for hours. Instead, there will be a light show, a countdown, fireworks, and a broadcast, with the emphasis shifted away from enormous crowds gathering in one place. And the reason given by French authorities isn't ideology, it's scrutiny, it's security, sorry. Now that word security has become so overused that it barely registers anymore, but when you translate it into everyday language, what it really means is this: authorities are saying they don't believe they can safely manage hundreds of thousands of people packed into one stretch of road at a time when tensions are high, threats are real, and policing resources are already stretched thin. That doesn't mean people have to live like the decision. It doesn't mean people have it to agree with it, but it does mean we should understand it. And here's where the human side comes in. If you've ever been in a crowd that suddenly shifts, I've been in the carnival. If you've ever felt that ripple of fear when something goes wrong, in the carnival. And nobody knows what you understand, and nobody knows what, sorry, nobody knows what it is. You understand how quickly celebrations can turn into danger. You don't need ideology to explain that. You just need a memory. France has lived through attacks that began in public spaces meant for joy. That history hasn't disappeared. It lives in the background of every major event decision. But social media doesn't thrive on nuance. It thrives on absolute: cancelled, banned, erased, placed, replaced. Those words spread faster than truth because they tap into something emotional. The fear that traditions are being quietly taken away while we're distracted. And for many people, especially working class families who already feel shut out of decisions, that fear feels familiar. It feels like another thing we don't get to stay in. What's important to say, though, is this. New Year's Eve celebrations are still happening all across France, in Paris, in Lyon, in Lille, in towns and villages where community halls will be full, where DJs will play, where aunties will dance in sensible shoes, and young people will sneak out for kisses at midnight. Restaurants are fully booked, clubs are hosting ticketed events, riverboats will glide down the Seine with music echoing off the water. Life hasn't stopped. And what a beautiful image that conjures up. So what's changed is the idea that one giant uncontrolled crowd is the only way to mark a moment. And that's uncomfortable for some people because public celebrations feel democratic. It feels like something that belongs to everyone. When it's scaled back, it can feel like a celebration is being privatised, pushed indoors, ticketed, priced, controlled. That's a valid emotional response. It's not wrong to feel uneasy about that shift. But it's also not the same thing as ideology cancelling a culture. This story sits in a grey space between safety and freedom, between fear and defiance, between memory and desire. And those are the hardest stories to live with because there's no villain you can easily point to, no single belief system to blame. So what's also telling is how quickly this narrative travelled beyond France, because it isn't really about France at all. It's about a broader anxiety across Europe and beyond. The feeling that public life is shrinking, that joy is being managed, that risk is being calculated into everything, and that ordinary people are left wondering what's being lost in the process. That's the real conversation here. Not whether fireworks happen, not whether a concert goes ahead, but whether public joy still feels safe and whether safety itself has become something we're expected to trade joy for without discussion. And that's where I always pause, because when stories like this cross my path, I don't rush to outrage or dismissal. I sit with the people inside the story, the shop worker hoping to take their kids into central Paris just once, the older couple who've gone every year since they were young, the young person who sees public celebration as the last free thing left in the world that charges for everything. None of them are wrong for feeling disappointed. None of them are wrong for feeling cautious, and none of them should be misled into believing a celebration has been erased by an ideology when the truth is far more complicated and far more human. France hasn't stopped celebrating the new year, but it is wrestling, like so many places, with how to celebrate in a world that no longer feels as safe as it once did. And that tension between wanting to gather and needing to protect is something many of us recognise, whether we're standing on the Champs-Élysées or a local high street or in a living room watching the clock tick towards midnight. Sometimes the story isn't about what's been cancelled, it's about what we're afraid to lose and what we're still trying to hold on to. And as the year turns, that might be the most honest reflection of all. And I hope that rings clear, and I hope it makes sense. It makes sense to me. I mean, like I said, I've been in the carnival and I won't go into the crowds anymore. I'll stand on the periphery because I almost got carried away with the crowd. My feet was not touching the ground. And it's awful when it's all shut off. You know, you've got all the guardrails up and you can't see the police at that time. All you've got is thousands of people just pushing forward, and all it takes is for one thing to kick off. I was petrified. So I do understand how difficult it is when you've got crowds who majority of them are enjoying themselves, but all it takes is one small incident and everything can spiral out of control. So I hope you can sympathise with France on this and realise that it's not everything that's being taken away. It's just what they need to do to keep the people and their little country safe. And that's all I've got to say for now. You have a wonderful day, and I hope you found this useful, and I hope it cleared any doubts or any fears. Ciao for now. Take care.